There is a power within you. It lifts your life to its highest level. It brings companionship, happiness, success, and peace of mind. As you tap into this power, it will respond to you because this power is within you. And that's why spirituality rocks. Welcome to the premiere show. I'm Janine H. Burns. I'm an interfaith chaplain. And I do lots of weddings and memorials and funerals in the Long Island area. I help people in crisis. And I teach practical spirituality and provide these services to people who don't belong to a temple or a house of worship. I'm very excited about today's show. The affirmation for today's show is, I am committed to excellence. And I've brought with me two guests who are committed to excellence. Pati is the creator of IndiMusic.tv, and Christina Lewis Gochin is a real estate agent with Daniel Gale Agency in Cold Spring Harbor. It's a spiritual truth that power flows to the focus of attention. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. What you think about, you bring about. There's a wonderful story to demonstrate these ideas, and it's a true story. It's the story of Annie Morrow Lindbergh. Annie Morrow Lindbergh is best known as the first woman to receive her glider pilot license, and she was also a prolific author. She wrote the book Gifts from the Sea. She was the daughter of United States Senator Dwight Morrow, and he was also an ambassador to Mexico. Her mom was Elizabeth Cutter Morrow. She was a women's education advocate and a poet. Dwight Morrow was the businessman of J.P. Morgan. Now, you know J.P. Morgan is the financier. If you've ever seen a picture of J.P. Morgan, you would know that he had a big nose. We're talking huge. It was red, it was bulbous, and it dominated his entire countenance. And he was very sensitive about this nose. One day, J.P. Morgan was visiting Mrs. Morrow for some tea, and he had come to make Annie's acquaintance. Knowing the propensity of children to speak their mind, Mrs. Morrow was really worried about what Annie was going to say about J.P. Morgan's nose. Annie comes into the room. She makes J.P. Morgan's acquaintance, and they're chatting and speaking. And with mounting anxiety, Mrs. Morrow is paying attention to Annie, watching Annie look at the nose. So finally, it was with great relief that Annie headed upstairs to go to bed. She gets halfway to the stairs. She looks back, and she's staring at the nose. She climbs up the stairs halfway. She stops. She looks back at the nose. Finally, she goes to sleep. Mrs. Morrow, with a great sigh, picks up teacup in hand and turns to J.P. Morgan and said, "Would you like cream or sugar in your nose?" That amusing story really points to the idea that power flows to the focus of attention. Power flows to the focus of attention, and the power I'm talking about is the creative power of the universe. Now, there's two main aspects of the creative power, whatever name you want to call it: God, infinite intelligence, spirit, universe. It's your call, whatever feels comfortable to you. The two main aspects of this power are love and wisdom. Love is the glue that holds the universe together. It's the energy of spirit that connects us. And the other aspect is wisdom. You are always connected to divine guidance. Ask and you shall receive. You will always get the ideas that you need, whatever idea you need in order to bring peace, ease, happiness, health, and success into your life is available to you as you learn to turn in and tune on to the power within you. We're going to talk more about our affirmation for the day, which is "I am committed to excellence," in just a few moments when I'll be introducing my guests. In the meantime, now is our commercial break. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Tom Mealy from the Harrison Law Group. You know, soft tissue injury, that's no joke. This is what we do. We're not new at this game. Don't waste valuable time going to firms who don't get it and can't do it. Call 1-800-INJURY-LAW.
Brooklyn's best locksmith and hardware.
We have 3 of the largest showrooms of safes on display and in stock. You can see and touch them in person instead of browsing a catalog. We carry gun and rifle safes, burglary safes, jewelry safes, fire rated from a half hour to 2 hour. Famous name brands.
We sell Gardol.
We sell AMSAC.
The new AMSAC touchscreen.
If you're ever in need of a safe, think Brooklyn's best locksmith and hardware. Right, Lockie?
That's right, Alan.
For professional motorcycle transport and towing, think Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing. Proudly serving all of Long Island, we feature expert handling and 24/7 service. So send a limo for your toy with Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing.
You know you already want a Toyota, but when you want more from your Toyota store, you want Smithtown Toyota, where every Toyota comes with Smithtown Toyota's Toyota for Life program, giving you lifetime New York State inspections, lifetime 10% discounts on all parts and service, 2 years of complimentary oil changes, 2 years of scheduled maintenance, and more, all at no cost to you, plus low clear-out deals on every Toyota in stock. Get more from your Toyota store. Hurry to Smithtown Toyota.
Ray, I don't know. Are you sure clicking this thing will get us online?
Well, try dragging it.
Faster.
You're just a mouse click away from a better way to rent movies. Blockbuster Total Access. Movies through the mail plus movies through the store. One low price.
Here's the problem. We forgot to plug it in.
Oh! Don't even think about it!
Get a free trial at your Blockbuster store or Blockbuster.com.
This is Beth.
Hi.
Oh, congratulations. When are you due?
I'm not pregnant.
Oh, look at that. Excuse me.
You're totally thin.
You look very sexy.
For life's bleachable moments, all it takes is 3/4 of a cup.
When your cable's on the fritz, you get frustrated. When you get frustrated, your daughter imitates. When your daughter imitates, she gets thrown out of school. When she gets thrown out of school, she meets undesirables. When she meets undesirables, she ties the knot with undesirables. And when she ties the knot with undesirables, you get a grandson with a dog collar. Don't have a grandson with a dog collar. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. When your cable company keeps you on hold, you get angry. When you get angry, you go blow off steam. When you go blow off steam, accidents happen. When accidents happen, you get an eye patch. When you get an eye patch, people think you're tough. When people think you're tough, people want to see how tough. And when people want to see how tough, you wake up in a roadside ditch. Don't wake up in a roadside ditch. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. When you pay too much for cable, you throw things. When you throw things, people think you have anger issues. When people think you have anger issues, your schedule clears up. When your schedule clears up, you grow a scraggly beard. When you grow a scraggly beard, you start taking in stray animals. And when you start taking in stray animals, you can't stop taking in stray animals. Stop taking in stray animals. Get rid of cable and upgrade to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
The theme for today's show is commitment to excellence, and the affirmation is, I am committed to excellence. As spiritual beings, we know that thoughts held in mind produce after their kind, and our thoughts attract to us people, circumstances, and events that correspond to the paradigm. It's not just our casual thoughts, it is our habitual thoughts. I brought with me today, I invited on the show, two people I know, both happen to be friends of mine, who are committed to excellence in their particular endeavors. My first guest is Pati, and Chris is the creator of IndiMusic.tv. That's INDI Music.tv. Absolute genius. And my other guest is the beautiful and very successful Christina Lewis Gochin, who's a real estate agent with Daniel Gale Agency in Cold Spring Harbor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
I'd like to invite you to just both jump in. Would love this to be conversational so that the audience, the watching audience, can really glean some ideas of practical spirituality that they can incorporate into their life. So I wanted to start with you, Chris, and ask you a question.
Sure.
You are a multi-instrument musician. You're a producer. You happen to produce my CD of spiritual jingles, Tunes for Transformation.
It's a lot of fun.
Thank you. And that came about when I used to be the leader of a spiritual center. I would teach affirmations. And in order for the people to remember, I would put them to music. One day I stood in front of this gentleman, Pati, who I didn't know from Adam, and I sold him my vision that this song would sound like this, and my intention was to make a difference in the world. He loved the idea. When he finished, he sat there quietly like this, and when he was finished, he loved the idea, and he produced the CD for me, and it came out great. But you're multi-talented because you play many instruments, but when did all of it start with your music? How did it start?
Well, first I want to say congratulations on your first episode.
Thank you.
We're honored to both be on your show.
Thank you.
We wish you lots of luck, and I'm sure it's going to be very successful.
Awesome.
Well, I guess I started very young. You know, I had an older brother who was a musician, who was about 6 years older than I am, and I think from very early on, my family was always musical, and I was exposed to music. And at least the way my aunt tells the story, the first words out of my mouth were Bo Diddley lyrics. I think I must have been
Bo Diddley lyrics?
Yes, the blues artist, Bo Diddley. I'm sure a lot of people out there might know who he is. He's a real innovator in music. My aunt tells me the story that I would rock on the couch and I would sing the lyrics of Bo Diddley. And before I could speak, I was singing those lyrics. So very early on, I had I gravitated to music and you know, R&B and blues and stuff like that. So it started very early on, and then, like I said, I had an older brother who was a brilliant musician, who I kind of aspired to be like, I guess, to some degree, and just kind of tried to follow in his footsteps and learn from him. And he always had older friends, so I was exposed to older musicians. So I kind of got an introduction to the business early. So that's really what started. I started banging on Tupperware at 3 years old, and banging on the piano, and one thing led to another. But, you know, that's what started very young for me.
Very young indeed. Practical spirituality teaches, of course, that the power of God is within you and that you have divine ideas. And so when you follow your passion, when you follow that urge within you, that you know, it just will be augmented. Whatever you think about expands. It's the universe seeking expression through you and as you. So that's a fantastic story. I love that. And Christina, I invited Christina today because her commitment to excellence shows up in everything she does. And she's also an extremely bright woman. And she's one of my boating buddies. I have a very loving and generous brother who lets me use his boat. And Christina goes on his boat with me. Welcome.
Thank you, Janine, and thanks so much for having me here today.
My pleasure. Talk to me about your commitment to excellence.
Well, you know, Janine, it's interesting. We spent many hours speaking about this, and you know, I think certainly yourself and many people who commit themselves to excellence have a positivity about them. And it shows not just in the industry or their profession, but in every day of their life, in everything that they do. Your commitment to excellence in your boating or in your real estate or in your music is always apparent to people that watch you, and it actually draws positive people towards you. Janine, you have so many positive people around you that I'm sure you'll have guests from now until the end of time. But I think that it shows and that people are drawn to it.
Yeah, people, like a moth to a flame. It is our nature, the nature of God. The word God comes from the German word gut God. And so that is the nature within us. And so, yes, you will, like a moth to a flame, draw that. So, but what do you do when there's adversity? I mean, I know that I really believe that once that 51% of your thinking during the day reaches the positive, that you'll catapult to living in positivity. But life isn't always sweet. Life can sometimes be really stinky. And, you know, we can feel like we've gotten hit in the head with a 2x4 and we have to manage challenges and difficulties. Chris, tell me more. What would you do to manage challenges? What have you done? How do you do it?
Well, to be perfectly honest, usually I freak out for about 5 to 10 minutes.
Good.
And then I'm blessed that I have, number one, a wonderful wife who always pushes me in the right direction. And number two, I have this innate, whether it's a vision or understanding or connection, that something good always comes. And if you just let go, sometimes you have to let go, and that's really, really hard for me. Anybody that knows me knows, you know, I'm a bit of a control freak. And I think, you know, there's the dichotomy of balancing excellence with being an overachiever. And that's, I think sometimes that's important to really delineate and know, like, when you're overdoing it. Because sometimes you do have to let go. And to answer your question, there are times when I just say, the heck with it. Whatever it is I'm trying to achieve, if there's a problem, a technological problem on my website, or which I certainly have dealt with, or a problem with a personality, or getting to another connection, getting to another level, or dealing with a person and not getting through to them, or whatever it is, sometimes it's okay to just let go of the oars and just drop and stop rowing the boat and just say, you know what, I just got to take a break. And every time I do that and I'm able to press reset, something pops into my head, or I get a phone call or something good. And as you would say, the universe kind of answers that. And that brings you, it's like a bridge to the next point to get back on track. And I don't even consider that getting off track. I think that's part of the track. And I think that that's so hard for driven people or people that are, you know, committed to excellence, as you say, to know that that's okay. And it's not something that anybody who's successful at anything has not dealt with numerous times in their life. You know, I said to you before in the green room, I love the Jerry Maguire line that the guy at the end of the movie says, I've failed more than I've succeeded, but I've had a happy life, and I wish you my kind of success. That's a great line. That's really great, because it's not about how much money you make. It's not about who you know, or it's about quality of life and being proud of what you do, whether it's in your personal life or your professional life. And sometimes you just have to let go. And but as long as you keep that vision and you get up off the mat, you know, that's the thing, is that gives you the energy to press reset and get back up the mat when you get knocked down.
I love that you said that. And you remember one of the jingles that we did was you press your spiritual reset button.
Yeah.
It's called the law of divine adjustment. And the law of divine adjustment is your spiritual reset button. So when everything gets crazy and confusing and all nuts, that you can, as you said, pull back. A lot of people call that let go and let God. And when you take that time to pull back and quiet your mind, first of all, your synapses seem to connect a little better. You think more clearly, but what's really important is you create the space for ideas to come through so that you can take your next step.
Exactly.
But I really like your point about you said a reset button, because everybody goes through the times in life that are very challenging.
Yeah, and I have to add, because I always use analogies that include boats and water as well, but we just came out of one of the most challenging real estate markets, and I'm counseling buyer clients right now, and is the time right? Is the house right? Is the move right? And what I always say to them is, all of these components are going to come together whether you swim or whether you float. So you can flail your arms and legs about trying to swim your way through life, and certainly you'll get there. You'll be tired, but you'll get there. Or you can just take a deep breath in and float, because water will always carry you to where you belong.
Love it.
And it's great advice. It sets them at ease. And I find, and it's given me great peace in real estate as well, that the right house and the right family usually find each other no matter what I do. I'm just a conduit for them. I'm just somebody that helps them to make the right decision in their life.
I love that. I love that you're very conscious that you're a conduit, because, in the spiritual world, everybody's talking about living in the now moment and mindful awareness, and that's all about staying present and being very conscious about where you are and what you're doing. Let's shift gears. Chris, tell the people about IndiMusi TV. IndiMusic.tv. Talk about an entrepreneur. This guy is a visionary, and what I love about being a visionary, what happens is when you're committed to excellence and you have a vision, then your energy and your power, they're directed towards a particular dream and goal that usually manifests larger than your original goal.
Well, IndiMusic TV came about for me through just an ongoing process in the music business of having to reinvent myself and help other people reinvent themselves, because the technology has changed drastically so much since I first got in the business. When you'd record and you would cut tape, and now everything is digital, everything is one computer, and the $1 million studios that you used to have are now a computer in somebody's basement. And the quality that you can get there is as good or better than what you would get 20 years ago in a $1 million studio.
Wow.
So needless to say, from a business model, that's created some obstacles and some real challenges for the business, and also the technology of downloading and how anybody can put anything on the internet for free. So as a musician or as an artist or as a content creator, or how do you monetize that? How do you make a living at that?
Yes.
Now it's great. It's a wonderful thing to have the ability to distribute your talent and your music all over the world. But number one, you're one of 80 million people, 100 to 200 million people doing this. How does someone find you? How do they listen to you and think that you have something that's worth spending 99 cents to download?
Okay, so just to be clear, that IndiMusic TV is a platform for unsigned artists to present their music, their videos, etc., to the world. I mean, this is what Chris. I'm telling you, Christina, what Chris is doing is huge.
Yeah.
Well, what I did was basically, again, being a musician and looking at that challenge and helping my clients as a producer make money from what they do. I knew that there had to be a way, because MTV was so great, it worked great for the major label artists to now broadcast to the universe, and now the internet is where people are looking at content. They're not really looking on TV as much.
Right.
So I thought, how do I get the average person to watch new music? Now, blogging is huge. As you know, it's one of the biggest things on the internet. So what I did was I created a social network like a Facebook and married it with a 24/7 broadcast of videos. So what happens is people come to the site and they watch the videos,
You have to slow
and
up
then
for
they
me.
blog.
Okay, you have to slow up for me. So
Yes.
people come to the site, your IndiMusic TV site.
Yes.
They watch the videos, and then they comment on it. Blogging is
Well, they
comment.
do their own blogs. They'll put on whatever. They're selling, used tires, or they're trying to lose weight, or it's a million different things that the blogging is. But what you're able to do on my site is you can have what's called our stream, which is what these people are watching now, with our music videos. But then they're on another page. They're putting their blogs in. So they're being it's analogous to doing your homework and watching TV, which everybody does. Everybody did back in the day.
What? I didn't know
and,
that.
And no one had really done that before. And what's happened is since September, we've had 472,000 subscribers sign on to the site, and we haven't done any promotion.
472,000 and no promotion.
No promotion.
And you know what? I knew about the music because I turn it on and I listen to it in the background. I love the VJs and I listen to the music, and there's fantastic and various interviews. They interview artists literally worldwide.
Yeah.
But I didn't know about the blogging part because I always stayed on that one page. That's fantastic. 470,000 viewers and no advertising.
We're averaging 7,000 new subscribers a day on the channel. So yeah, it's
you're obviously
huge.
committed to excellence. and your energy and power are focused on your dream, how do you keep from being distracted?
Well, it's not easy. Sometimes I get distracted. Everybody gets distracted. But I think the most important thing is to, the old adage, keep your eye on the ball. I have this vision of musicians being able to, millions of musicians out there that are struggling to be able to make a living at what they do. And they don't have to make $500,000 a year. If they can make $50,000 a year through them, the subscribers finding their music and now downloading their music or coming to their free shows or whatever, they're now able to get an audience that they weren't able to get on YouTube. You're one of 100 million videos. How do you find it? Well, on our channel, we stream it. So when you go on the home page, you see right off the bat, all these videos come. You don't have to go looking. It's like MTV was, like music TV used to be back in the day. It gives you the opportunity. The unsigned and independent musician now has a worldwide broadcasting platform to now give the world the opportunity to say, yes, we like your music, or no, we don't. But that's the hard part, is to get to the audience. So we created the audience. Now with over 400,000 people, when you sign on as a musician and you upload your video, you automatically now get exposed to this huge audience. So now you've increased your chances thousandfold of selling your music. So that's what it
That's
basically
wonderful. And what I heard, because my mind thinks in a spiritual direction, what I heard is that your vision was so clearly articulated that you wanted to provide a platform for musicians to follow their creativity and still have the opportunity to have sustainable income. Because I know that's challenging in the music industry to do that. So
Sure is.
and you offer it I saw it on the website at IndiMusic.tv that you offer. It's a very reasonable package to be able to upload your material.
Oh, it's really cheap, and we're doing that, to some degree as an introductory thing. And but the bottom line is, we want musicians to be able to.
Yeah.
It's not about us making money as much as it's about giving the artists the platform for them to make the money, and then the money comes. That's the bottom line with
Well, what's interesting
anything.
too, Janine, is you've brought up distractions, and I think that distractions are necessary. I think we all have them. I think sometimes, especially when you're dealing with a lot of stress or you're dealing with several topics in your day, which we all are, distractions are important. I think the key is to recognize the difference between a distraction and a destruction. One is something that can one is something that can relax you, and one is something that can completely take you away from the ball, which is, I think,
keeping you
what
centered
mentioned.
and focused.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
Yeah.
A very good point. Eloquently put.
Yeah, say that again. Distractions or
distractions are okay. Destructions not so good.
Yeah. I like that. That reminds me of when life happens. We have the choice where we can either respond or react. And when we react, we're sort of on automatic pilot. We come from the ego, whereas we respond, we're coming from our divine nature. And I was having conversations with friends this week, and the bottom line is Jerry Jampolsky wrote the book, Love is Letting Go of Fear. You're either living in love or you're living in fear. When you're coming from fear, everything is just in negativity. There's competition, there's judgment, there's anger. And when you're living in love, no matter what you're doing, you're always going to end up with peace. You're always going to end up in joy. Things may not end up the way you want them to be, but you still will find yourself in the right place at the right time and having a real peace of mind.
Well, that's interesting too, because I've heard it put a different way, and that is that emotions make you act and logic makes you think. So you should always lead with logic. And I think that, your heart is based in logic. It's who you are fundamentally.
Yes.
If you stop, which is huge for a lot of us that are movers, and you let yourself rest in silence and peace, that logic will come to you first instead of emotion.
Right.
So many times emotion leads.
And that's why, and I'm going to have it on upcoming shows, teaching some simple breathing exercises, because that's a wonderful way to slow yourself down, not only physiologically, but most importantly mentally, because when you slow yourself down mentally, you create this space for spirit, for infinite intelligence, for the universe to give you ideas. We all have an inner guidance system. We all have an intuition. And how do we listen to it? Some people hear a voice, some people have a sense. People say, I have that gut feeling. But that only becomes available to us as we practice slowing down and quieting our mind and heart.
I have a great point to make, if it's okay to interrupt
Sure.
you. Right, exactly along the lines of what you're saying. Again, not to get into quoting movies, but there's a movie called The Peaceful Warrior. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Dan Millman.
Yes. The thing that's so great about that, I think they need to take a commercial break. So we'll come back.
All righty. Well, you're going to save that thought, right?
No problem.
Okay.
And I'm going to take a sip of water.
All righty. We'll be right back to Spirituality Rocks.
Old Spice body spray will make you feel so powerful to blow your mind right in front of your face. Goodbye. Oh no! He's like, I don't. Power!
Automatic freshness, softness, and static control has never been easier with the Bounce Dryer Bar. I just stick it to the inside of my dryer, and I never have to remember.
Oh, Old Spice body spray makes you smell like power! It's so powerful it sells itself in other people's commercials. You smell like outdoor freshness.
You smell like power.
Yeah, I do. Power!
Try this routine to feel fresh and clean. Pair Charmin Fresh Mates with your Charmin.
Oh, Spice body spray is too powerful to stay in its own commercial. That's right. Power! Old Spice body spray can change a regular smelling man into a man who smells like power!
Now, how is this? Wow, you know what? I actually do feel more powerful.
Potato chips! Power! It's me.
This is Beth.
Hi.
Oh, congratulations. When are you due?
I'm not pregnant.
Oh, look at that. Excuse me.
You're totally thin.
You look very sexy.
For life's bleachable moments, all it takes is 3/4 of a cup.
Hey, I'm Tom Mealy from the Harrison Law Group. You know, soft tissue injury, that's no joke. This is what we do. We're not new at this game. Don't waste valuable time going to firms who don't get it and can't do it. Call 1-800-INJURY-LAW.
Ray, I don't know. Are you sure clicking this thing will get us online?
Well, try dragging it.
Faster. You're just a mouse click away from a better way to rent movies. Blockbuster Total Access. Movies through the mail plus movies through the store. One low price.
Here's the problem. We forgot to plug it in. Oh, don't even think about it.
Get a free trial at your Blockbuster store or Blockbuster.com.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine H. Burns, and with us today is Chris Pati of IndiMusi TV and Christina Gochin, real estate agent with Daniel Gale Agency in Cold Spring Harbor. And just before the commercial break, we were talking about quieting your mind. And Chris, you were going to tell us a story about the Peaceful Warrior. Dan Millman wrote that piece.
Yeah, it's a really great story about an athlete who is very high on himself, very full of himself, and basically pushes himself to the point where he breaks his leg and then cannot compete. And throughout the movie, there's this character they called actually Socrates, who's Nick. What's his name again?
Nolte.
Nick Nolte, right? Nick Nolte. And you don't know whether he exists or not, if he's an angel or a spirit guide or what, because at the end of the movie he disappears. Bottom line is he keeps telling this character, Dan Millman, in the movie, you have to take out the trash. And he's like, well, I took out my garbage. He's like, you don't understand. You have to take out the trash. Up here.
The mental trash.
Just getting back to your point about quieting your mind, the things like you talk about destruction versus distraction, the world is full of distractions. We've got, magnetic energy hitting us all the time, and cell phones and broadcasts and people and all this stuff. It's important that we find a place to quiet your mind and be in the moment, be in now, and not be in what did I do yesterday that was wrong or right, what do I need to do tomorrow? Because if you worry about yesterday and you worry about tomorrow, you sacrifice today. And I think that being able to, to clear your mind of distractions and focus in the here and now is the key to hearing that voice within yourself that I think is the key to excellence. And whatever excellence is, and we talked about defining excellence, I think that it's important that you have an understanding in your own life what excellence is, because it's different to everybody. It's like success. It's like these phrases or these terms that we kind of associate to a feeling or an idea. And I think we all think of excellence as doing the best that we can do, or being the best at whatever endeavor or that we're talking about. And I think being committed to excellence is really all about listening to that inner voice and being able to guide yourself to that vision of what excellence is to you, whatever that may be.
I also, when I think of commitment to excellence, not only the highest standards, doing the best I can at what I'm doing or endeavoring to do the best, I also think about the goes around, comes around rules. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And of course, the 7 major world religions all have that same exact tenet, that whatever you do comes back to you.
Karma.
Karma, okay. And people, a lot of people living, if you remember I said before, you can live in love or you can live in fear. And when you're living in love, you're really having respect and considering other people's ideas, considering their feelings and what's important. So for me, that is part of my definition of excellence. I become very aware that what am I doing? What's the rippling effect of what I'm doing? Christina.
Janine, what I love about your sort of, I guess it's multi-religious approach to spirituality is that you do take in the best of all religions. And one of the things that you and I have talked a lot about is, I think in Christian religion they call them the fruits. And I think also Buddhism, Hinduism, they all have similar ideas, which is that you should be rooted in love. You should be rooted in compassion. You should be rooted in respect. You should be rooted in long suffering. These types of things kind of keep us in that love place. And I think about, being committed to excellence and what we've been discussing here, and something that you said, Chris, which I just absolutely love, is being in the here and now. My son Henry explained to me the other day that he has a photographic memory, and I didn't know what that meant. And terrific, we're going to use that for school and math, and you can memorize those tapes. And he said, no, Mom, he said, what I took a picture of last was 3 winters ago, me, Lena, and William were out in the front yard in the snow, and I took a picture of that in my brain, and I remember it. And what he was telling me was that it was a moment. It was a here and now moment. And it became a memory the minute that he took a picture of it in his brain. And I think when I think about commitment to excellence, I think about that very thing, about staying present in the here and now.
Great.
Because you're right, the past is the past, and the future we don't know. And if we're going to fill our mental scrapbook with anything, it's going to be those pictures that we take of being in the snow on that day.
Yeah, that's a great story. It's a good point.
It is a wonderful point, and being present is huge because you can't do anything about the past. Maybe in your mind you can make some shifts, and the future, life is very tenuous, and you never know. And all you can do is point your mast in a certain direction and go from there. So let's talk specifically about, and I was interested in what you said because the philosophy, the New Thought denomination where I was credentialed, is called Science of Mind. Some call it religious science. And what Ernest Holmes, the founder of it, did, he took a compilation of the world religions and formed this philosophy. And so that's it's one of the things I really love about it. And it really talks about positive thinking. And I'd like to address that for a moment because your mind is like a garden. Your mind is like a garden. The thoughts you think all the time, it's like planting little flowers, but you got to weed your mind. You can't control the thoughts that come into your mind. You can control if they stay there. You can't, there's a wonderful Chinese proverb, you can't keep the birds from flying over your head, but you can keep them from making a nest in your hair. So I know for me, when I start to think negative, I sing a jingle. I take an affirmation, I put it to music, whatever I'm working on, I do it to keep myself. Is there a practice? Do you work with affirmations? Do you take time every day? What do you do to keep the garden of your mind in a positive way, Tina?
Well, I make a very conscious decision to keep positive things, positive people, positivity in my life, to the point where now that I'm older, and I won't disclose how old, but I can recognize when there's a negative, I guess I'll call it an energy, but I do believe that we have electricity around us. And I believe that when my electricity rubs up against positive electricity, it makes the bulb burn brighter. And when it rubs up against negative electricity, we're dimmer. We're dimmer as people. We're dimmer as a relationship with people. So my commitment is to always try to seek out the positive people. And I find that just in doing that, the collateral upside of that is that I tend to just do better.
Yes.
I tend
Absolutely.
to experience more personal growth and I tend to experience more success in my life simply by keeping positivity as the main course of my life.
That's great.
And also, by the way, that you talked about energy, and I remember in seminary training when I took classes years ago, they talked about that energy of love. And if in circumstances in your life, people in your life, if you're vibrating at an energetic level of love, of a consciousness of peace and joy and success and goodwill, those circumstances, people and events around you are going to rise up to that same energetic level, or they're just going to be diminished from your life. They're just going to go away because their energy cannot stand the energy of love. We've all talked, we don't talk about energy a lot in the West. We just don't. People in the East talk about it way more. But we all know what we're talking about. You ever go to a party and you walk into the room and you say, oh, wow, that just feels good, and that energy, and the people feel good. That you're feeling an energy. Who was it? It was Emerson said, who you are thunders so loudly, I can't hear what you say. So we all have an energetic mental atmosphere that radiates out from us. And I really, Christina, love what you said, is that you make a conscious effort to stay positive. Chris.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, and not to segue into physics, but there's actually a physical law of electromagnetism that basically states exactly what you just said. If you take two sound waves and put them together, the point where the sound waves intersect, you either get, depending on how they intersect, you either get constructive or destructive interference.
Right.
And they can cancel each other out, or they can actually amplify the sound and make it louder.
There you go.
It's very similar to what happens with people in a room, or like what they say, Mercury retrograde or whatever. There's times when things are just not going well, and we all feel it, But then there's a cycle where things turn around. And I think, even though I completely agree with what you said, I think there's always people around that I would call zappers, or situations that are zappers, where they take your positive energy from you.
Yeah,
and you have to, I think it's important, by staying positive, that you kind of like put a white light around yourself, and you just kind of imagine that no matter what somebody else is going through, although you can have sympathy for them and empathy for them, you can't take it on.
Right.
Because those people will zap all the energy out of you, and that will steer you right away from being positive. So, and it's not like you're being insensitive, it's just that you're recognizing that they're coming from a place of negativity right now, and whatever their path is, if you can help them and you can be positive in what you're doing, that will reflect on them in a positive way, and sometimes it'll turn them around.
I love that you said right now, because, as you're raising kids or whomever you're counseling, it's important to know that we all have positive and negative energy. And every now and then you go down. You go down, and maybe you are the psychic vampire. I think we've all been there too. I think it's important to understand that wherever you are in the game, if I'm a life raft builder, I like to save people, so I go and I build life rafts. And I've done it my whole entire life. And then you get the raft perfectly built, and you're going to swim it out to the people who need to be saved. And what I found is that there are people in this world that won't get on the raft.
They don't want to be saved.
They won't get on. And so you have to understand that, and you have to kind of leave that alone. I've had lunches with people where it felt really good. It felt like a good bottle of wine, but at the end, I kind of had a headache. I kind of had a hangover from it. It really wasn't that good of a bottle of wine. In fact, it was kind of bad for me. And knowing how to ascertain whether or not that wine's going to back up on you later is the key to keeping positive and the key to loving everyone,
and knowing
even
who
when they're in
associate,
negative.
and you have to watch your associations.
Very important.
And I think you're in a circle of people, family, business, whatever it is, that you try to surround yourself with like-minded people.
Absolutely.
And also people that are positive, which is what you were saying before. And I believe that, like minds and like energy attracts. So I think the more you stay on track with being focused and listening to that inner voice, the more positive the people and the energy around you will maintain.
Absolutely.
And it's easier to get to your goal at that point.
I agree. And you said something which is a great segue into our little prayers that we're going to do. It'll take just a minute, and then we'll go to commercial, is that when there is negativity, you said you surround yourself with light. So I want to do a little affirmative prayer. The affirmation for today is, I am committed to excellence. And whenever I pray, I surround myself in white light, because the light represents the energy and power of spirit. And it's a light of protection, it's a light of love, it's the light of energy. And so I always like to take a deep breath in my nose. So take a deep breath into your nose and out through your mouth. And another one in through your nose and out through your mouth. And one more in through your nose and out through your mouth. And please resonate with these words. I'm going to speak them in the first person. I am committed to excellence. There is one presence and power in the universe, infinite intelligence, spirit that expresses in me, through me, and as me. I am always in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. I surround myself with people who are like-minded. I keep my attitude positive. Any thoughts of doubt or fear or negativity are just gone from my consciousness. I accept the divine ideas that are mine in order to succeed and have success in all of my endeavors. I give thanks knowing that as I speak this word, the law of mind acts upon it and brings it into my life and affairs for success and commitment to excellence to my goal. I know that the light of God surrounds me, the love of God enfolds me, the power of God protects me, and the presence of God watches over me. For wherever I am is this amazing power and energy. And so it is. Let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back with Spirituality Rocks.
One resident describes her horrifying experience when she first realized the complex was on fire.
I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Well, I woke up to go give me a cold pop. Then I thought somebody was barbecuing. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Then I ran out. I didn't grab no shoes or nothing. Jesus, I ran for my life. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Jesus, 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 it's a fire. Oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. I said, oh Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Hey, I'm Tom Mealy from the Harrison Law Group. Soft tissue injury, that's no joke. This is what we do. We're not new at this game. Don't waste valuable time going to firms who don't get it and can't do it. Call 1-800-INJURY-LAW.
Brooklyn's best locksmith and hardware.
We have 3 of the largest showrooms of safes on display and in stock. You can see and touch them in person instead of browsing a catalog. We carry gun and rifle safes, burglary safes, jewelry safes, fire rated from a half hour to 2 hour. Famous name brands.
We sell Gardol.
We sell AMSAC.
The new AMSAC touchscreen.
If you're ever in need of a safe, think Brooklyn's best locksmith and hardware. Right, Lockie?
That's right, Alan.
For professional motorcycle transport and towing, think Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing. Proudly serving all of Long Island, we feature expert handling and 24/7 service. So send a limo for your toy with Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing.
Ray, I don't know. Are you sure clicking this thing will get us online?
Well, try dragging it. Faster. You're just a mouse click away from a better way to rent movies. Blockbuster Total Access. Movies through the mail plus movies through the store. One low price.
Here's the problem. We forgot to plug it in. Oh, don't even think about it.
Get a free trial at your Blockbuster store or Blockbuster.com.
A little more.
Welcome back to Spirituality Rocks. I'm your host, Janine H. Burns. My guests today are Pati of IndiMusic.tv and Christina Lewis-Gochin. She's a real estate agent with Daniel Gale Agency in Cold Spring Harbor. I'd like to tell you about my guests for next week. Millard Roper is amazing. Millard Roper has 3 black belts. He teaches massage therapy over at the school in Syosset. He's a licensed acupuncturist, and he recently opened a yoga studio called the Funky Om, which is on 25A in Huntington. Also, my guest will be the Reverend Kathy Caputo, who was recently ordained in the New Thought denomination, and she is going to talk to us more about the creative power of your thought. But back to today, I want to thank my dear friend, Amy Oliver Augustine, for these beautiful flowers and good luck. She is the publisher of ACES, Arts, Culture, and Entertainment Scene. And what I'm so excited about is that I recently became a free agent, and I'm writing a column for her called The Art of Spirituality. And next month I wrote an article on defensive optimism. That's when we think negatively so that if things don't go our way, then we don't feel so bad, which is really not how the creative process works. But you'll have to read the magazine to find out more about that. So I want to also thank the hosts, Tommy and Tommy Mart, Tom Mealy, Vicky Mealy, and we have another Janine here. Is it Janine Zarelli? I want to thank them all for their support of me doing this program. It just, the way it happened, it was like the universe handed it on a platter. I met them at a party, and I was just so thrilled that this opportunity came about, because this is something that my dean, Angela Pizzello, has been bugging me to do for years, is to teach people spiritual truth principles. So, back to the subject at hand. I am committed to excellence. I am is your naming power. Whatever you attach to those 2 words, you're saying that it's my nature to be. Because I can't say I am Christina. I can't say I am Chris. I only can say I am Janine. In fact, this comes from the Old Testament when Moses was going up to Mount Oreb to receive the 10 Commandments. He said to God, "Who shall I say that sent me?" And God said, "I am that I am." And if you really meditate on that and think about it, I am that I am. So I am is the power within you. It's the power of God, the power of the universe. So whatever you attach to those 2 words, you will have a tendency to become. So that's why you never want to say, I am sick. You would say, I feel sick, if you are feeling that way. But I am is only attached to whatever you want to connect with the power within you. So what are your favorite I am statements that you like to say, Chris?
I am happy.
I am happy.
I don't say it enough. I'd like to say it more.
I am
and
happy.
It doesn't mean I'm not happy. It just means that exactly what you just said. It's easy to get off track and get wrapped up in things that take you away from the here and now. But you know what? Basically, I'm happy most of the time. You know, I really I think it's important to always use that as an affirmation and look at the blessings in your life and not look at the negativity and say, I am happy, I am blessed. I have a beautiful wife, I have a beautiful son. You know, I'm blessed to do what I love in this world for a vocation, which a lot of people aren't blessed for whatever reason. So I just say I am blessed, I am happy, and I am successful. You know, and
I am
again,
blessed, I am happy. Hey, we could do a jingle. I am blessed, I am happy, I am successful. That's how it starts, right?
Yeah.
How about you? You know, you have children, and you know you're a huge influence. You're such a great mother. I love how you speak to your children and help them reason and help them to get clarity on things. And they
should be there at 8 in the morning.
Oh, really? They have such different personalities. I remember we took them on the boat one time, and was it Henry who was jumping into the water, and he must have literally done it 20 times in a row, jumped in and came out, and William sat there very peacefully and went into the water and swimming, and then your little girl was more interested in staying out of the sun. So what affirmations would you like to teach them, or do you? Or what attitudes, what I am statements is what I'm looking for?
The most important thing, I think the thing that I was certainly born to do was to make certain that I instilled in my children these 3 I ams, and I believe in them and say them at least once a day. I am compassionate, I am respectful, and I am always, always thinking of the other person. It's just, it's the basic tenets of being able to go out in the world and know that you're going to be getting those things back. I'm going to be getting compassion back. I'm going to be getting kindness back, and I'm going to be getting respect back. And as long as I give them, I get them. Those are my I ams, those 3 things.
You have really young children, and so you're teaching them this at that young age.
I think as long as they can go out into the world. Listen, we deal with bullies. What's worse than a bully? Nothing.
Right.
I am respectful of you, regardless of if you're bullying me. I am compassionate. I understand that the reason why you're bullying me is because you're being bullied. And I'm going to be kind to you, because we're all here on a spiritual journey, and as humans, we all deserve those 3 things.
Yeah, we do. Well, you know, the bullying oftentimes starts in our own mind. We can be really mean to ourselves in our self-talk. We can bully ourselves. I'm so stupid. How could I have done this or that? And, you know, why did I make that choice? And we really can be really harsh on ourselves. How do you manage your self-talk?
how do I manage it?
Yeah.
Call Janine?
A lot of people do. A lot of people call me. That's what they do.
There are people that I will call when I'm feeling down or I'm losing track or whatever, and they'll remind me, of the things that are positive, and But like I was saying earlier, I think that I'm blessed with having the ability, and I don't know if everybody has this. It's just a matter of developing it, or I can only stay on the mat for so long, and then I just say, cut it out. And I get up.
And you get up.
So whether it's somebody doing it or whether it's within myself or whatever, I always find that there's like a governor that stops me from getting too depressed, too upset, or too off track, and I get back and focused on the ball. I'm blessed to do that. And that's something that I really try to focus on. By the way, what you mentioned before, hardest job in the world being a mother. Forget anything else. It's nothing. Being a parent in general, once you become a parent, everything else pales in comparison. And there is no success like being a good parent.
Nice.
Forget your career, money, and all that. I'm sure that you would agree with that.
Right.
As great and as successful as you can be in your business, seeing a smile on your child's face and bringing happiness to them and seeing them be a good person, that's success. Everything else pales in comparison.
Fantastic.
Well, and I want to say something about what you said too. Studies have been done, and everyone has to deal with tragedy. Our kids do, and we do. And you think about the parents of children who've died young. You think about that. The people who have undergone tragedy are not necessarily the sad people in the world. The happiest people in the world are going through tragedies just like everybody else. The difference is the happy people process them as learning experiences and move on. They don't think about the problem, they think about the solution. And I bet you do that with your kids, and you just do it organically.
Right.
And you brought up a great point that I don't want to let go before the end of the show, and that is you have to give to receive. I don't think most of the world, unfortunately, gets that. That's so important. You want to make money?
Give first.
Let's do things for free.
Then
I try to explain that to my wife sometimes. There's things I do for people
we need to wrap.
that are free.
That's great for a next show.
But the money always comes.
I want to quickly tell people how they can get in touch with us. If you'd like to reach me, you can look on the web. I love to do weddings. You spell it like you say it. And Chris is at
IndiMusic.tv. It's INDIMUSIC.tv.
And Christina?
Christina Gochin at DanielGale.com.
Fantastic. I would like to dedicate this show to part of my extended family, Jeff Shaper, who made his transition this week. Jeff, I'm going to always remember you with that big smile on your face. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Remember that you can tap into the power within you. You can turn on and tune into this power. Check it out and take time for yourself. Take time to quiet your mind. Take time to plant positive thoughts. And remember, I am committed to excellence. See you next week on Spirituality Rocks.